I'm trying not to laugh because, guys, welcome back to No Puns Allowed. I am Paige and live from Orlando, Florida.
Hold on.
Kramer.
God. Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, no.
I'm out of sorts. I'm going to start. I'm in a hotel room. I bought the better Wi-Fi. I don't have a koozie. The lighting, though, is, I got like a glow. It's like if they were going to like dress up a corpse, they'd be like, here, make him look a little like this. We'll give him like tan. A fake tan. Yeah. Like he's not sickly ill tan. So, but cheers. I'm going to try and conceal this.
Oh God, wow. Please watch the video.
Now, you know what I'm drinking.
Yes.
I went down. This was all they had. There was literally nothing but this can. It is not beer. I got to say, though, the first sip was delightful. That was delightful. And
I told you, when you revealed it to me, I said, that's something that I would pick. Like, that's not like my last choice. Like, that's something I'd be like, oh, they have that? I'll have that.
No, this has got a little kick to it. So good to talk to you. Last time we talked, Oklahoma was unbeaten.
Yes.
Now they are beaten. Your thought? What a weird game.
Yes.
I liked Baylor. I bet Baylor on the money line. A little peacocking to start. But wasn't that kind of inevitable, what we saw? Like, wasn't that supposed to kind of happen like that?
Yeah, I feel like we knew that they were going to lose. It was just a matter of it wasn't going to be to Baylor first or to Oklahoma State. Like, I mean, it was one or the other. And there was no – I think that's why the committee put them at 8 for so long, because they were like, they're going to lose. Like, we know – we've seen what we needed to see, which is, by the way, if you're a TikTok person, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Adam has no idea what I'm talking about.
No, I'm old.
They saw what they needed to see, and they were like, we're leaving them here because inevitably they're just going to drop down.
Wait, hold on a second. Am I like the grandpa of the podcast? Is that like what's going on here? Like just naturally weaving in and out of pop culture references that I can't.
You have no idea being on there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's
No, explain it to me.
Okay.
To grandpa. Am I going to understand it?
You're more like the dad of the podcast, I would say. That's fair. I wouldn't call you grandpa because you get some of the references.
Some. I do feel it, though.
This one is just, there's on TikTok, there's this thing called like sounds, and you basically like mimic the sounds. And there's one of Justin Bieber saying, I've seen what I needed to see. Immediately no. I've seen what I needed to see. And that's what the TikTok sound is. It's like a very, very popular one. So that's just what I was referencing when I actually said they've seen what they needed to see, which I didn't mean to, but it just came up like that. But any person who is on TikTok, they will know that.
Why didn't you tell me this was 12.5% alcohol? I am guzzling this thing, and it is going to end poorly for me. Like, why?
You just not realized this.
Well, I'm like,
also, remember when you asked? Remember when you were like, "Am I the grandpa of the pod?" You're like, "This is 12% alcohol." Like, have you not?
Well, no, it tastes like 12% alcohol, but I'm not used to that coming out of a can.
I mean, I am, because I usually look at that to see what the content. If I'm going to be drinking it, it's got to be
Orlando, travel. Like this
Florida,
was like purchased 8
you're
minutes
gonna go
ago.
Full Florida man on us.
There's no masks around here, which is actually quite feels kind of good, but still a little bit jarring. So I'm going full Florida man. Sorry, Oklahoma.
Yes, Oklahoma. What are your thoughts on Oklahoma?
Yeah, it was weird, but like that was the full catalog of weird. Spencer coming in,
back in,
whether Caleb Williams was hurt or just not playing well. I think it was a bit of both.
And of course the crowd wanted Spencer because they started chanting, "We want Spencer," which is just hilarious.
Yeah. I just think that so often in CFB we like expect a team to be something they're not. Like that team was that. They just really had not played anybody. And I don't know if Baylor's even that good, quite honestly. Like, I think the really interesting takeaway from this, quite honestly, is everyone's like, oh, my God, the Big 12's out of it. No, Oklahoma State might be good. Like, if Oklahoma State was dressed up as Penn State, when you look at, like, their strength of schedule, strength of wins, metrics-wise, they look like a really good team. Where we struggle to rally around this team is it's Oklahoma State. Like, quite honestly, and the coach and everything else.
Big 12 vibes, we've always had this even when Baylor was that team. Like that's always been a thing in the playoff is like the Big 12 is nowhere near respected. Even like the Pac-12 is more respected than the Big 12 is in terms of playoff. Like the only reason Oklahoma is getting in is because they're undefeated, or they have a good loss. But yeah, this Oklahoma team done. I feel like it's a weird year because we've put Lincoln Riley very much on a pedestal for a while now, which rightfully so. I mean, he did inherit a great program, a great team. And it was like the proper passing of the guard, really, in that circumstance. We've seen situations where that's not the case, even when everything is set up perfectly. And that was one of the more seamless transitions in college football. And it just seems like they're a little out of sorts. They just can't seem to get it right. Like, they're not terrible, but they're not good.
Still a good year. Still a good year. I mean, this is something I want to talk about in a little bit about kind of expectations because we got a lot of firings going on. And so I think fans are hungry to be Alabama, even when they are not.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma, by all accounts, has been a wonderful football program since he's taken over. Even if they get blasted in the playoff, like, that's fine.
They make the playoff.
But expectations are changing. And I do want to hit on that because I think it's a really good point. But we have to talk about Texas. Holy shit.
Congratulations, Kansas.
Yeah, it's I don't know what to say. It was riveting. Texas was a 30.5-point favorite in this game. We're recording this on a Tuesday, by the way, pre-playoff rankings. We should throw that out there as a disclaimer.
Yes.
But it still feels very fresh. We're recording it a day earlier, so this loss still feels very fresh. When you're Steve Sarkisian, like, the team has clearly quit on this year. I'm not saying they've quit on him, but they've quit on this year. Bijan is out for the season with an elbow injury. So you're wasting one of the best running backs that program has ever had. Like, you've wasted a year with him. You'll get one more with him, we think. But it's hard to – I like the Sark hire, Paige. I really did. But when you lose to goddamn Kansas again, and you've lost 5 in a row for the first time in like 60-plus years, you had a decent coach, we think, albeit one that like had a weird urine chart up hanging all over the walls. This is the risk of you do it. And I still think Sark can be good. I think it's unfair to just say it's not going to work out. And yet it's completely reasonable to look at this and say, good God, what has our program become? Because if I'm a Texas fan, I'm probably doing that this week.
Yeah. So we had a conversation last week about the Bo Davis video that leaked and the potential culture problem that is happening right now. And I hate using culture problem because it's such like a buzzy word. Yes. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just like they're still like not on the same page. Like, I feel like there is a little bit still of where, like, you know, the coaching staff has an idea of how they want to run this program and how they want to be. The players that are there are not really, it's not that they're not buying in. They're just frustrated with the process and it takes some time. And I think that's part of it. It's just like, I've said this over and over again. One of the biggest flaws in college football is not letting some people work it out and have coaches work it out. I think Texas, you're not going to get that time, so you really have to make the most of it. This is embarrassing, and it needs to, and no offense to Kansas, that was a great win for that program.
Unbelievable.
Very exciting. And we talked about that too with like Arizona winning. It's always good to see a program like that win, to see like a guy who is like literally not played on offense and like wins a game in overtime and they go for it. Like, it was a wonderful compilation of all the things you love to see about sports. But I think for Texas, it's going to be a little bit of a like transition period. Like, you have to like wait it out. Like, Sark is the right guy, in my opinion. I just think they're going to need to wait it out. And it's going to take more than just one season. And also, like, the other part of this is I think sometimes, like, when we look at this year, we forget that like last year was just like an absolute shit show. Like, it's hard to come off of that and get like in a groove and remind yourself of the consistency when normally you're doing the same things the same way. But it's changed, and things have changed on many different levels, whether it be NIL, all the things. So there's so much more now going on that I think it is going to take a bit. But I do think Sark's the right guy, and I do think he gets the time next year to do it. But next year is going to need to be a huge, huge improvement.
Just to tie a bow on this, you had Pole Assassin with the monkey. You had Bo Davis. You lose for Kansas. I know Sark makes a shit ton of money Shout out dog cameo.
Shout out my dog barking at the mailman.
He's upset too.
Yeah, he's upset for Texas fans.
Well, no, that's how they feel. But I know that, like, he makes a ton of money. I would imagine the last 3 weeks have been horrible. Like,
okay, wait, that's a great point. I can't imagine. Did you see the interview question that was going around Twitter?
I couldn't watch it. It was so painfully awkward. I actually watched it through my hands.
For those who have not seen it, there is a video of a reporter asking Sark in a press conference, and it took him a whole minute and a half to ask a question. He's like, I heard this and this was inspiring and this is this, and nothing against this person, but like you said, you just laid out all the things that have been. It's like you just laid out all the things he's had to deal with. It's like, what in the world? This was the strangest question of all time. It was like, what was the question in this? It was like, how are you? Basically, the question could have been, Sark, what are you doing to change this, to fix things week to week? What's going into it if you can tell us? It literally was like, so this is the motivational thing that I learned. And this is the quote. What do you think? How does that apply? I know there's been a lot going on, but what about this? I'm like, dude, let it go. Just ask the question.
Punked. I thought we were getting punked. I think Andy Staples, and I love Succession, said Greg from Succession if we let him ask a question, which is wonderful tweet. If you watch Succession, you get it. But I feel for him, but we have to give him some time to at least bring in a recruiting class, which is a wonderful transition to a guy that has tried to bring in recruiting classes, and that's Dan Mullen. Now, this is the difference, Paige. This is the difference. Dan Mullen has had time. And has had success, too.
Yep.
When you look at it. But he has not had success with his players. He had success with the old Shark Riders players. Remember the Shark tweet?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay.
I got the reference. I got that pop culture reference.
There you go. That's my reference, damn it. Is tweets from 3.5 years ago. So I think Mullen's toast. South Carolina, and then you give up more points and a half than you ever have to Samford. Like Samford.
I know. Not Stanford. Samford.
And they were marching. It was art. I mean, if you're a Florida fan, that is throw up on your couch level football.
I have literally, so last week we literally talked about this. We're like, yeah, you know what? We'll give him another year. He'll be there next year. No big deal. No, how the tables have turned on this completely, where what in the world? How can you have this happen? And I tweeted this, he's been we'll worry about recruiting when we need to worry about recruiting. I'm like, you don't have to worry about recruiting at Florida at all. You're not going to have to get that chance ever again, because that was so embarrassing. I mean, just absolutely it's over. Awful.
I would be shocked at this point if they let him stay another year. Why do this?
No, I don't think
look
they
at
do
the money, and we'll talk about it like Virginia Tech's handing out.
Yes.
Look what Washington just did. We'll talk about that. Look what other programs are doing, right or wrong, to say this is not working for us. You're going to let them hire your lame duck coach, basically, who can't hire a full staff. It's not a great time to hire a coach right now, but I don't see how this works out. Possibly.
But if it's not, but if you're Florida, we talked about this last week, if you're Florida, you're the not second tier, but there's LSU, USC, and then it's 1A and 1B. I think, yes, you could argue that Florida is a better job than USC. I disagree, because you get a free pass if you get the right coach, you get a free pass into the playoffs. So, but
that's a good one. But the fact that we can have that conversation now when Florida was Alabama, Florida was the team not terribly long ago, says a lot about where they are to me. And I just don't know how this ends well. And at some point you just do it to move it forward too, because it's probably not productive for Dan Mullen either to have to deal with this crap for another year.
It's not we've gone over this because it's okay, do you give them the time? Like you said, he's had time. And if it's inevitable, you might as well do it now. You might as well do what is inevitable. You do it now, because you're also going to get people that will take that job over other jobs, that may take a different job and not be available to you afterwards. So you might as well just throw your hat in the ring for the top guys that are going to be out there and being talked about. One thing I did want to ask you about, because I saw this it has to do with Florida. If they do fire Dan Mullen, I've seen not only one Stoops, but two Stoops thrown into that conversation. Yeah. Because technically Bob hasn't said he's not coaching ever again, but he's enjoying his TV job.
He looks pretty happy.
Yeah. But still, like, it's Florida.
That's a job. I mean, if he doesn't take a job this cycle, because I think USC, I think Florida would be great. I do think that Brother Stoops, who has a pretty kick-ass contract, by the way, just had his deal like auto-renew for another season because they won enough games. So he's got a good situation at Kentucky, too, with not minimal expectations, but reasonable expectations. If Florida can land either of them, they'd be wonderful. I
feel like if Florida, can you imagine if Florida and LSU got the Stoops brothers?
Oh, Stoops on Stoops?
Yeah.
But like Bob, also, I think if Mike. You look at, and there's Mike. Yeah, don't hire him.
Bear down.
But if you look at, like, I think Bob Stoops could look at what Urban Meyer has done. He had a pretty cushion job at Fox where he was good. All the other stuff aside, Urban was good at breaking down football games in the studio. But Bob's good at this too. He's not as good as Urban is. Probably as a collegiate coach as well, but there's so much stress that comes with it. So I doubt he wants to do that. Did you lose my video? Okay, so regarding Stoopsies, getting back to the Stoopses, plural of Stoops. Either would be great. Bob's got a cushion job. Don't do this. It's very stressful, even though the money is great. And yeah, I mean, Kentucky at this point, Paige, you could make like millions of dollars and win 7 or 8 games, and you're one of the greatest coaches ever in program history. Do you need to make $1 million more and have to deal with this shit? Like it may not be worth it. By the way, I may be drunk already off of this 3/4 of a can of sorcery. This stuff is sorcery. I'm just saying, this is delicious, but it's also a problem. I don't have 2 cans on me, and that's probably for the better.
Yeah, next time 2 cans, but you need to always bring 2 cans. But yeah, I agree. Yes. I think something that you and I sort of talked about offline is just how much money these guys are being paid to not coach and things like that. So to your point, like, it might be a nice cushy job at Kentucky and you keep it and you don't have to exceed any sort of expectation that's sort of unrealistic from SEC fans. But in lots of situations now, buyouts are astronomical. And I mean, what are your thoughts on the fact that, like, we've seen more money than usual being paid for people not to be at certain places?
We've got Justin Fuente. We got Jimmy. I mean, that is a year, not even a year. Now, he had the incident on the sideline. Seemed like it was really toxic there, but they're paying him a lot of money to go away. Justin Fuente, I believe, is getting $8.5 million as part of his settlement. He could have gotten 10. If they waited, he would have gotten 7.5. They sell on $8.5 million. So those specific jobs are interesting, and those are pretty fascinating jobs, Paige, because they are. Well, Virginia Tech at one point was a wonderful job. Now it's a really good job. I think Washington is a really good job. But doesn't all of this have to, like, is there just so much money in this shit, and the boosters will write these checks that it'll just keep going? I think I read that there was like close to $50 million in buyouts already that have been handed out this year. I think that was a Pete Damel thing, something along those lines. Does this have a breaking point? Because to me, it's like an identity crisis for these programs who think they should be better than they are, and they're just going to keep swinging. I'm a Jets fan. You know what this reminds me of? Is the Jets searching for a goddamn quarterback, right? Like, it's just they're going to do it my entire life. And so, and Washington's had some success, and obviously Vatek as well, but you're just going to keep swinging, and every 3 years you're going to pay out an extra $10 million. Like, is that sustainable, I guess, is my question, and maybe it is.
I mean, I think it is, because there's just never not going to be money, and never not. Double negatives. Going to be money in college football. Like, it's just, that's the nature of how the sport works. I also, like, it's very strange because the Jimmy Lake thing is tough because he was, like, sort of, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of jobs where, like, people are, like, set up and know that they're going to take over. You know, someone retires and it's set to, they've been there, they've experienced it there. That's why it was, like, such a strange deal that this didn't work out specifically, because it wasn't like they went out and tried to find their guy and brought the wrong guy in. It was their guy and it didn't work out. I think there's a lot of other factors that come into it. It's not just the football part. It's the field incident, all of the other things. But again, he was there at a program that was, amazing. Like that there's a reason why Peterson was there for so long and loved that job and did it the way that they did it. And it's just strange to me that that didn't work out. That's tough. And so I think now they get the option of picking somebody, and that is going to be an interesting decision to have to make because, again, they thought this was a seamless transition and it wasn't. But I think there's always going to be money, and if they think there's someone better out there. The problem is that college football programs and athletic directors think that their school is the best school in the whole world and that everybody
Correct.
wants to come coach there.
Correct.
And that they are entitled to certain things in college football, and it's just never going to be that way. Otherwise we wouldn't have losers. We would have, everybody would it'd be I just hope everyone has fun, and we wouldn't have winners and losers of games. There's always going to be people on the losing side of things in college football. It's just how do you ride that wave as a program and not overspend? But when you got boosters, you got boosters. So
by the way, Peterson's phone's got to be busy. His agent, I'll bet, is fielding some calls. That's who I call.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just saying. USC's been trying to hire that dude for damn near 20 years, it feels like. Last thing, and this actually, we wrote an article this week for the BR community piece. You and I come up with what the hell are we going to do? It's week 12. We're trying to come up with ideas. But you're to the point now where it's the biggest disappointment in college football. We've talked about teams that have fired coaches. We talked about Texas, who I think it makes a case for the biggest disappointment in college football. So I wrote it this weekend and the last couple of days. I think it's really interesting when you look back, and I'll tell you the two that stood out to me. And you obviously know the teams that I pick, but it depends how you qualify biggest disappointment. Indiana started the year ranked in the top 20, and have 2 wins, 0 Big Ten wins. The more I think about this, I think there's two cases to be made. Indiana, who's been dreadful, just lost 38-3 to Rutgers. Holy shit. Or Clemson. Clemson's lost to a couple of decent teams, but by Clemson standards, starting at number 3 in the AP poll, this is really friggin' bad. And it doesn't look good. They're number 98 in scoring offense. That's awful. So I'd ask you, who would be your biggest disappointment in college football this year? Is it one of those two, or are you going off the board?
No, it's Clemson. And it's because of I hate to do this, but it's because of the Alabama factor. People were ready to crown that program and anticipate us having Clemson, Alabama every year and have it be sustainable. And it's not, clearly. And it's not just, they underperformed last year. They got beat in the playoff. You know what I mean? So
yes.
And we watched them lose in a national championship, and the end of that was ugly. So I think the Alabama to me is the biggest disappointment because it wasn't they just had high expectations for an average program. This is a program that succeeded. And even when LSU won, everyone's LSU's going to have a down year. They're going to have a down year. Clemson, no one's ever been oh, they're going to have a down year. They expected it to.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, they expected them to just continue rolling. And that just did not happen. And even when and I think, again, you expect Clemson to figure it out. We've seen them fumble a bit here and there and figure it out over the years. This is a year where they just did not figure it out at all. And it's weird to watch even Oklahoma. Oklahoma and Clemson have both not been able to figure it out. And we've always seen them sort of adjust if they've had a tough time. Oklahoma more so than Clemson. But I think to me that is the biggest disappointment of the year. And I feel it's going to be one of the bigger disappointments in college football, if I had to say. I don't know that they turn this around quickly.
I think it's the most meaningful disappointment.
Yes.
North Carolina, I didn't quite buy. I didn't buy Indiana.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that was why I didn't pick any of those teams, is because those.
That's the off-season hype champions. Clemson, we talked about Clemson saying, if they lose to Georgia, when they run the table, will they make the playoff? Mm-hmm. That was the conversation. And it's just been bad. So I agree with you there. All right, let's get to games. Because we got to move it along. And this thing is delightful. I have to go get another one of these. Oh, my God. Seriously, why have you been? Maybe you did mention this thing previously in a pod. Did you drink this in a pod?
No, but I've told you about something that similar to that is made.
This is going to be an interesting night.
It's going to be a good conversation. All right. First up, we have Michigan State. Okay. But also, this is not no gambling. Well, you didn't pick them in your picks. I did. No. But Michigan State, Ohio State.
Okay. Then I'll do the heavy lifting because you'll do the heavy lifting on the next one.
Cool.
Ohio State should kick the shit out of Michigan State, right? So Ohio State at home saw it against Purdue. I wish I would have lined up to bet Ohio State. That was classic Ohio State. Now, Michigan State is spicy. Kenneth Walker, we saw against Michigan. They bounced back, I think, pretty well last week. They've got a running game to maybe make Ohio State uncomfortable. This is in your picks, so you will tackle it here momentarily. I don't necessarily want any part of this line because Michigan State's pretty game. Like, they're a game team. I just think this screams problematic for them.
Yeah. I do think Ohio State wins this game. I don't think it's going to be...
Teaser.
Yeah, teaser. I do think they win the game, but by how many points? But I'm excited for it. I think it's a cool sort of storyline when it comes to, like, Heisman because you have C.J. Stroud, who we talked about, play against good teams. You have Kenneth Walker, who, like, is basically, in my opinion, should be the favorite right now. And can really, if you go out and play great against Ohio State, they're going to be singing your praises for a while. And even if he has a couple big plays, I still think that that's the case. I think he has a big game. I think it's closer than most people think it's going to be.
You're tipping your hand already.
Yeah, yes, but I got Ohio State winning.
By the way, the Heisman, the C.J. Stroud has now closed to plus 200. Bryce Young is plus 180, and Kenneth Walker is plus 300. Just to give you an idea of how that is
quickly
going.
That turned.
This game, I think the winner of this game is going to be the favorite for the Heisman, and we'll see what happens. And then, frankly, if Bryce Young wins out and beats Georgia, he's going to win. That's how this is going to go.
That's how this goes.
Now, Oregon, Utah, which I am super pumped for. I have in my locks. So I hand it off to our resident Pac-12 expert to deliver some commentary.
Oh, God. Do I want that title? So Utah and Arizona played last week, and it was a close game.
Yeah,
so it was a close game. It was a very close game. I think the spread was like 44 points. So, boom. Gotcha, bitch. But
they played well. No, and they've actually played better. But I was looking at this today for locks. Like, Arizona has been way more competitive, albeit at home in a lot of instances, but playing way, way better than people thought.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that I don't think Oregon gets upset, but I mean, I would love for that to happen because then we don't have to talk about them in the playoff. But I don't think that Utah is going to be the team to take them down. And I think you have a difference of opinion there.
I'm just going to leave it here for a little bit. Alabama, Arkansas. I don't know what to do with this game either. This Alabama, this is like I feel like I've seen this game a million times where Alabama is almost a 3-touchdown favorite over, now they are a 3-touchdown favorite, just looking 21 and a half, 20. It's kind of all over the place over Arkansas. I really like how Arkansas plays. I really like Sam Pittman. I've been impressed with them. I think they'll have more success against Alabama's defense than they did against Georgia's. I certainly hope they will. But it's at home. Look, with the injury to Bo Nix, like, Alabama's season is setting up really strong. I don't have a great vibe for this. My commentary, which is very lazy, would probably be what I said for Ohio State, Michigan State is this: Alabama should win this game comfortably enough. Probably not going to be a blowout, but they could cover. Bryce Young. This is another huge Heisman game. Will Anderson, Bryce Young, like either one of those two with a big performance, I think can get a leg up in this conversation here as well.
Yeah, I think Alabama's just going to beat the crap out of them. I think we have really high. We want Arkansas because I think with our hearts, we all want Arkansas to be competitive always. I just don't think that this is the game for it. I think that Alabama will win by a lot. So if you're betting, I don't even know what the line is on it.
Yeah,
but
you always think Alabama's going to win by a lot, though, kind of.
No, I mean, that's true.
But a lot. Well, I can't argue it. I don't have it in my locks.
The one game that I thought was going to be close was not.
No, that LSU game has me a little freaked out by Alabama. It's a huge game for Alabama. Not necessarily like, obviously if they win it, they play Georgia, right? And we have a point spread on that game from Circa, Georgia -3 versus Alabama.
I will say I don't think they beat Georgia. I'm not confident in that. And I was more confident that to me, like, okay, we're talking about Arkansas here. That's why I'm like, they're still going to win. They're going to win by a lot of points. I think they win by at least 2 touchdowns. I don't think that they're going to, I don't know that the Georgia game will be as close as we think, because that offensive line is just going to get eaten alive. And also the one thing that we haven't seen Alabama correct is
I don't disagree with any of this.
The penalties and the just like not being sharp, like that's going to cost you against a Georgia team. You cannot have that be the case. The discipline is bad.
I just want to see that game, quite honestly.
Yeah,
I'm loving this week, but I want that game. All right, last one. Oh. Cincinnati SMU. I have it as a lock. You have it as a lock. Should we just dive right into locks?
We should just dive right into locks. Please reveal what you're drinking. Okay. The sorcery in a can.
This is a Cutwater tequila margarita. It's lime. It's 12.5%. Now, I don't have a cup and ice. I'm just in Orlando, just doing my thing. Pretty nice hotel room, might add. I haven't like completely shit it up yet, but that's coming next. This tasted like a margarita in a can, like a good. This is one of the most positive reviews we've had to date. Cutwater, you need to sponsor this podcast and send us tequila margaritas. This is. I am floored by this drinking experience, and I wish I had a cup with ice and a little salt, because it would be a really good margarita.
Yeah, it's delicious. And I also think that, so I had ranch water is what I made on there, which is a different company that makes stuff in a can. But that is like not too sweet, and it kind of reminds me of ranch water in a little bit, because it's more like bubbly and limey than it is like margarita-y, if that makes sense. But it's good. Mm-hmm.
Really, really good. All right.
And Cincinnati 12% SMU, in a can. Let's go.
12.5%. It's going to be a good night. So we're going our separate ways. Let's just not bury the lead. I like Cincinnati. You like SMU. The line is 12-ish, I believe. They're 11.5, 12. This one's kind of moving around a little bit. So, and actually, look, it looks like it's down to 10.5. So there's been some SMU action, clearly.
Yes.
I wrote my locks this morning on the plane.
And I did mine this afternoon. So mine it went from 12 to 11.5, and it's coming down. Because
it's a big change. Yeah,
if you look at Cincinnati, like they start to blow people out, and then they let people come back. So that's my concern. Is like, I don't think Cincinnati's going to lose this game. I just think they might let SMU come back, and SMU's fun.
I'm going to play a fun angle in this game. SMU is fun. I think they're less fun on the road. So I'm going. My picks this week are very venue centric, but also like I wonder if Cincinnati has truly given a shit after Notre Dame. Like
they've needed to, though. Like we've talked about this. Like they need to win.
Yeah, you don't need to. Like,
you need to kick people's ass. Yeah, you do if you're not in the top.
When Oregon loses, I don't think they need to kick people's ass. And
I think where they started, they needed to win by a lot, and they didn't the 2 games after the first rankings. And so that was cause for concern for me.
I believe in this team. And I think if they're going to put it together, they're going to put it together here. But I don't necessarily love this line movement. I get on a plane, and all of a sudden, people clearly that know what the hell they're doing are not going in the direction that I like. And yet the point are a little bit better. So I'm going into this a little sheepishly. I don't usually do that with locks. I come at it, with some conviction. I can't say I feel great about that, but I'm still going to do it. You have SMU.
I have SMU.
I have Cincinnati. What do we have to do some sort of pod bet here, right?
On this,
we had the Malort bet. You want to do a bet?
No, not a Malort.
No, God, no. The loser has to send the other a 6-pack of delicious Cutwater tequila margarita.
Yes, that sounds perfect. I love that.
All right. Okay, good.
Done.
I'll go next. Utah. I really like Utah against Oregon. Lost. Oregon covered -3. Thank you. Oregon covered against Washington State, but that was not a great game from Oregon. They were up 14-0. Washington State came back. Washington State might actually be kind of good, and they needed like a really late surge to get a bad beat. Utah at home is just a different monster. We saw it against Arizona State. We saw it against UCLA. I do think this is the team. I think it's the right venue. Utah at home is like this, and it's not just this year. They've done it over time. I really like this. I think Oregon's been playing with a little bit of fire. Utah crushes them. At that point, by the way, Pac-12, like, Dunzo.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Okay.
Well, and I didn't bet this game because I was like, I'm too emotionally invested in the fact that I would love for Oregon to lose, but when I want them to lose, they don't. So I just can't bet on this game. So that is why I stayed away from it completely. But yeah, I think I mean, I could see it happening. It sets up perfectly for the perfect upset, but I also know that this is still an Oregon team that did beat Ohio State. I know it was weeks ago, but which I still hate, but I know. Like, they're still good.
And if this happens, Cincinnati is still Cincinnati's in great shape at that point, quite honestly.
Everybody that needed to lose, their biggest concerns was Oregon and then Oklahoma, and those two teams have lost, so they're going to be fine. Because the Big Ten has to shit on itself, and the SEC, same sort of thing. They're two juggernauts, and that's only 2 spots, and we're used to saying that anyway. So crazy.
I'll give you my last ones. I'll end with the one that I know we're different on, and then you by all means jump in. Kansas State +1 versus Baylor. I love this point spread as a contrarian better. K-State totally flying under the radar. Hangover game for Baylor. Tough place to play. Again, I'm like venue crazy this week. I really, really like K-State in this spot because I think everybody's going to love Baylor. And then I like Liberty. I was going to say Libertyville. That's where I went. Liberty -4 versus Louisiana. It's been a weird ass year for Liberty.
How's that Cutwater tasting?
I was just putting it in the camera. I promise. Libertyville. That's like my rival in high school, if you're wondering how the Cutwater's tasting. One Cutwater. So Liberty lost as a 33-point favorite to Louisiana Monroe. How can I screw up Liberty's name, but then recite exact point spreads from 2 months ago? That's like
the quintessential like college football thing, because we all can remember, like, college football media remembers the random facts. We can't remember people's names and things. No. There's just so many of them. It's not like a league where there's 30 or 32. There's like hundreds and hundreds of teams, so it's hard to pay attention. But yeah, that Libertyville, tough.
Damn you, Cutwater. There's the name for the pod. So I like Liberty, though. I think Louisiana, look, they've won 9 in a row. They lost to Texas in week 1. That doesn't look particularly great now, but it was a good loss in the moment. Mm-hmm. I think Malik Willis has had a weird year. Like, everybody's waiting for somebody to step up and be QB1. Yeah. He was not great against Ole Miss, but they were pretty good against Ole Miss, all things considered. When you look at the A&M game now, coming off a bye, it might be one of my favorite plays of the week. I really like Liberty this week. And then the one I know we're going to go toe-to-toe on here is Washington State. I don't mean to do this on purpose. -14 versus Arizona. Arizona fought like hell. I just think Washington State, with their interim coach who's coaching for a job, they're coaching for bowl eligibility. Like, they're playing for a lot of things here. I think Wazoo's actually pretty good. So I know you feel differently there.
Yeah, I'm going to take Arizona +14, which is a stupid decision, and I'm doing it with my heart. But I do have to, so those are your locks. I have to say, we had a discussion on this podcast where, like, we should probably put our locks on a graphic and put it out there. And this week was last week was the first week that we did that. And I honestly think it jinxed me because I had the worst week of all time. Like, I have never had I've had some rough outings. This was like embarrassingly bad, and I needed to check myself. I needed it to humble me and be like, okay, stop trying to get so outside of the box. Focus on what you know. Okay, don't try and take so many goddamn overs because they just don't hit. Like, the SEC overs hit, but like the Big 12 didn't. Like, seriously, what in the world?
It's a weird year.
It's just a weird year. So I am taking Michigan State -19. So,
wait, +19. Wait, Michigan State +19?
Yes, +19. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
gotcha.
+19. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
+19.
I was like, that's bold.
You're like, that would be weird.
Odds you could get on that, but I like it. It's aggressive.
Right? So I'm taking Michigan State to cover, but I don't think that they beat Ohio State. That's my take on that. I know we alluded to it. I'm taking Purdue -12 versus Northwestern. They play at Wrigley Field.
Like it.
And Purdue, tough. Thought they were going to be a slayer again. Not so much. That was by the way, I love that you called them the Dragon Slayer, not on this podcast, but in a Bleacher Report video. And I thought it was the funniust thing I'd ever heard because it's very accurate. But
they were until they got slayed.
Until they got slayed
back.
And they did. And so, yeah, I'm taking Purdue -12 versus Northwestern because, buddy, Northwestern is bad.
Real bad.
And then I am taking SMU. I'll go -12 versus Cincy. We'll set our line at 12. Or SMU +12 versus Cincinnati.
For the old canned margarita, yes.
For the old canned margarita. And then I'm going to take Florida -8.5 versus Missouri. Because, honestly, you have to recover you have to blow somebody out after you let someone just slaughter you. Samford. Like, I think they would cover, and I'm fine with the 8.5 points. If it was over 8.5, if it was like 10, I probably wouldn't take it. But I think 8.5, we're safe.
You know, this damn game has been just staring me down like the last couple of days. I want to bet this. Mm-hmm. I absolutely want to join. I'm going to join you now. This is pod camaraderie we're going to do. I'm just scared,
Kumbaya.
Paige. I'm scared. I'm scared of Dan Mullen just, shitting his pants again on national television. But if they can't do this, like, you have to fire him Sunday.
Immediately. Oh my God. I was just going to say, you maybe have to write on Sunday because that is going to happen. Landing spots.
I like it though. I'm in. No,
yes.
I'm in. And then you're on Arizona.
And I'm on Arizona. So also we will have a graphic with these.
Yes.
This week, and hopefully I reverse the curse of the graphic because oh my gosh, was last week so bad. But our lovely producer Matt will. Also, can I give a shout out really quickly to producer Matt because he went to the Niners game yesterday, the Monday Night Football game.
Oh boy. And
he said to me, he was like, Paige, the last time I was here we won. I think it was like an NFC Championship game. Like, good luck, guy. All right? That's our guy. I want him to go to every 49ers game now. I just want to give him a shout out. I appreciate that.
Performance.
It was a great performance. I'm very happy. So now he has to attend all 49ers games. So if the 49ers would like to give him free tickets for good juju, please let me know, and we will make sure he gets them and goes.
By the way, I want 49ers tickets too. We're trying to get a 6-pack of Cutwater. Let's keep the eye on the prize here. Matt, love you, buddy. But like, focus on first things first, man. Okay, we'll send some out to you. Okay, so we're gonna tie a bow on this next week. I'll be back. Oh wait, we got Thanksgiving. We have to. Are we doing an early pod? We haven't talked about this. We can work it out on air. So we got to do an early pod next week, right?
Yeah.
And I have some Thanksgiving tips that I need to share with the universe.
So let's record on Tuesday next week, and after the college football playoff next week. We'll make it work? Okay. We'll do that. And then, because this week we didn't record until we don't know the playoffs for this week. Hopefully nothing crazy happens. But Kramer and I are both traveling this week.
Yes.
So very exciting stuff. But yeah, I think we should do early and we should do tips for certain Thanksgiving things, even though I hate turkey.
I've got thoughts on turkey. Oh my, I'm not even going to do it right now. I've got thoughts on what alcohol to consume and when. I've got Blackout Wednesday thoughts. I've got lots of thoughts. I gotta get these things out. All right. So you have to travel. I have to wine and dine. Rate, subscribe, spam, please.
Tell your friends.
Cutwater at me. Okay.
Cutwater. You should Cutwater. You need to at them on Twitter now.
Cutwater Drunk is going to be the name of this pod in some capacity.
It only took one Cutwater.
Yeah, that is very sad. Start reciting my hometown's rival in Picks and Pints. That's really good content. Okay, for Paige, I'm Adam. We'll talk to you guys soon.